I find the way that New York Times decides to, like, what it chooses to put a lot of money into, I find that very interesting. Like, what is a subject that it thinks is worth 10,000 words, or 2,000 words is pretty fascinating to me. But in this case, yeah, we talked about this before. My perspective hasn't changed. After reading this, if anything, I felt more sympathetic towards Kendi, towards his plight. And I do think he's trapped in something that is bigger than him, that he can't work his way out of easily. I feel bad to the extent that, not that I've been going around making fun of him or anything, but
in the culture wars, there are no winners, just podcasters. Only a few are willing to risk their lives in the face of some of the dumbest ideas to have ever captured human civilization. Every week, we, Megan Dahm and Sarah Hayter, humbly accept this mission to bring you conversations that are equal parts stunning, brave, and radically ill-prepared. Welcome to a special place in hell. If you put radical in front of it, it automatically gives it gravitas and makes it political.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're not sufficiently prepared is immaterial, because we're radical,
it's brave,
and we're women.
It's brave of us to do it. Actually, mm-hmm. We're making a statement.
Right. I mean, anyone can be prepared, but
exactly.
Takes radical courage to just show up here. Actually, we are prepared. I mean, I think people need to understand that we do prepare. It's just that there's so much to talk about, so it's hard to know.
And it's the format. It's the way that we have our conversations, which are so free flowing, that it's hard to know. Like, the universe of possibilities is like, there's 20 possible things we could talk about. Mm-hmm. We pick a few, but they could lead to other things. And then you have to be prepared for that too. Yeah. It's not easy. No, people take us for granted. They don't know.
This is the hardest job in the world that we're doing.
It is.
I mean,
and nevertheless, I persist.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a couple things to talk about. We're going to talk about Ibram X. Kendi, this big piece about him, and a couple of other things. But first, I mean, I think the most important thing that's happened, on Twitter over the last couple of weeks is this spat. I don't even know if it's a spat, but I got into some tweet altercations around something Richard Hanania said about women with short hair. I know you won't relate to this at all, because I'm assuming you were born with your
I was born with
locks.
Yes, exactly. This is how I came out of my mother. Yeah. It was a shock to everyone.
Yeah, you were twirling your hair as you took your first breath. Mm-hmm. Yes. So on June 6th, somebody named Dumb Bitch Capital LLC. That's actually
that should have been our LLC.
That's a great title. Said men don't want to date successful women. They want to date dumb sluts who work dead-end jobs. Okay. That was actually a response to this guy, Nick Gray, who had posted a photo of his extremely successful boss bitch friend and saying that he thought she should, find a nice gentleman. So this was a response to that. And Richard Hanania responded to this tweet by saying, men will date either. Just literally don't be fat, covered in tattoos, or have short hair. Mm-hmm. We have these debates to get to these second level considerations when most aren't even meeting the basic minimum. So the basic minimum involves not having a short haircut at all. And I actually, I'm somebody who has had short hair much of my life. And so I did something I probably shouldn't have done, but I tweeted a photo of myself with short hair. This is probably about a 20-year-old photo. It's from the cover of my first book. And I said, "What's wrong with short hair?" And, Hanania's reply, guys, had a lot to say about it.
You did ask for it.
I totally did.
You
I
looked at him, of all people. You went to him and his followers, and then you said,
"Yeah, right." So I said, "What's wrong with short hair?" And several people came to my defense, but really mostly there's a lot of these red pill guys were expressing their feelings that short hair was just like the just totally disgusting and unacceptable. I mean, it's interesting, or making some kind of statement that you're a man hater or that you've let yourself go. That was another one. Oh, well, you know.
That's a big one. I think that's like sort of operating in the back end where like people remember when their moms like first cut their hair. They were like, it was the point at which mom let herself go is when she cut her hair. Interesting. I think we just associated with that, with sort of sexlessness, because women with too many grays are like, you know, screw it, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And then they cut the hair. And then I think that's the association.
That's so interesting because, yeah, I mean, certainly over the last decade or more, I feel like everyone has had long hair.
Really?
But back in the 90s, like the short haircut was very cute and fashionable and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was totally normal. You had like
because your moms, I think, maybe weren't doing it as much back then. That's what I think. That's what it is. It's the
and you don't. If anything, like you don't let yourself go. Like you have to actually be, in order to pull it off. I think there was a sense that you had to have a pretty face. You had to be fit. You had to, you know, dress nicely. If anything, my association with long hair was that was the easy route. You know.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you put it that way. That you kind of have to have everything else together. If you have short hair, because it is punishing in a way that it isn't, that long hair isn't. Long hair is the easy route to prettiness, I guess.
Yeah.
But like with short hair, you have to be fit. You have to have you have to be a 10 at so many other things. But maybe that's what they're talking about. And maybe his problem is that women have short hair now, but they are not otherwise doing everything at this like extremely high level.
Posting pictures of Halle Berry with like short hair versus long hair, and I can't quite tell it. Yeah, it's like okay, really.
But that is such a. I mean, for one, I don't like Halle Berry being used as an example, regardless of what's going on, because she's so beautiful. I don't know what the problem is in either picture. And then she's just too beautiful. So it's not even, it doesn't even prove that people can look good in short hair, because she can look good in short hair. Anyone can look in people are not her. Nobody looks like her.
And I think she looks better in short hair. She looks better in short hair because she's more, it's just unique. It's otherwise, I think she looks basic. I think long hair is basic.
If you have a lot of other things going for you, I do think like short hair can draw attention to that, because I think that when Halle Berry has short hair, I focus a lot more on the fact that she has the most perfect face. You know, that's what I look at. I look at, wow, like look at her skin, look at her like exactly perfectly proportioned features. I think it draws more attention to the fact that she is so beautiful when she has short hair. But the short hair itself is not the most visually appealing thing. Does that make sense?
I guess so. So here's another one of the replies. I think the male analog to a short haircut on a woman might be man boobs. Signifies that a male has basically given up on strength, fitness, dynamism, virility, etc. What? Who cares? Boobs aren't a problem on women. Why aren't they okay on men? So that is a very interesting analogy. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
That only maybe applies with like modern short hair. You know, I think what you're thinking of is this classic like short hair as a political. I mean, not a political statement, but like, look, I can get away with this. You know, like this is how appealing I am, or how daring, or how interesting, that I have so much going for me that I can also get away with this, and that adds to the sexiness of it. And
yeah,
I think it was a different thing then, but now it's a blue hair association. You know what I mean? Like it's like a SJW kind of
thing. But
I
feel like they're not even looking. I mean, you don't see it very often, but I still see very, very attractive women with short haircuts that are not blue hair. I mean, it's very expensive to maintain a short haircut, by the way. It's the opposite of letting yourself go, because you have to go all the time to maintain it.
I think the letting themselves go is just, that's their mom. They're thinking about their moms. I think that's what's happening there, because that is what's happening when your mom is doing it. You know, she's not trying to be hot anymore. She's sort of like, she's done. I mean, I'm not, of course, not all moms, but I've seen the pattern, you know, where women decide at some point there's too many grays. I need a shorter haircut. My mom started.
But why don't they just cover the gray? But I see, like, it's more like there's too many grays.
The
they're
texture
just gonna.
is different, you know?
Okay, because
with my mom, she had perfect perfect, gorgeous locks, very long down her to the to her butt, basically, like beautiful hair. I was so jealous of like the kind of hair. I don't know what I would do if I had hair like that. Gorgeous hair, but now it's mostly gray and it's like a different texture. She can't blow drying it. It just doesn't work as well. So it's more annoying for her. So she keeps it shorter.
Okay.
Just more. It's just more to deal with. Like more grays is just harder for her to deal with. And that might not be the case with everyone. That has been my association, though.
Okay.
It's shorter hair. Maybe, so I think that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about what you're talking about. You're talking about something else. You're talking about a different kind of woman.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Always.
So you've never had long hair?
My hair doesn't grow very long. I mean, my hair is very, very fine and straight, and it just it does better when it's short.
Yeah.
It really just looks better. It's longer now, but I don't know how much longer I can go with it.
What do you think about like the idea that when women tell other women to cut their hair, like I've seen some manosphere types talk about it this way, where they'll say when a woman is telling another woman to cut her hair, she's actually sabotaging her. Like this is, like it's competition. Like this is her intersexual competition, passive aggressive kind of.
I don't take not in my world.
No, yeah.
No.
I agree, actually. And normally I wouldn't agree with something like this, but I actually agree. I think women just, like, we are women. We don't hate short hair. Like, we don't hate it intrinsically, and we can appreciate the beauty of it outside of it. But I think men might be trapped in a more evolutionary perspective. Like for them, it's like health. Like, long
yes
fertility.
You know what I mean? It signals fertility or whatever.
So they're stuck there. But we're thinking of pure aesthetics in a way that I think they're not thinking about it that way, because we're not, you know what I mean? Like we're not evolutionarily pushed into desiring a certain length necessarily on a person. So we can just see it for the however much intrinsic beauty it has or doesn't have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I feel like in the 90s it was very, very sexy. Like it connoted, like Winona Ryder had like, very cute short hair, and she was an absolute like dream girl. Men were drooling over her. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the we were talking earlier about like the super skinny thing. Like maybe you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You just don't see the Winona Ryder kind of woman as often, I think. I think with short hair, I see my association in my head is with older women, or it is with like people who are generally not super kempt. Like I don't see that model skinny pixie cut thing anymore. And if I saw it, it's like, wow, that's incredible. That's an amazing thing to be able to pull off. But it's just not, that's not the package. I think that it's just the association. He's just talking about associations. He doesn't mean anything intrinsically about it. It's like the tattoo thing. It's like, yeah, you hate tattoos. You don't hate tattoos. You would love them on Angelina Jolie in her peak. You would love that. And you would think she was amazing and interesting for having them. You just don't think they're interesting anymore because you associate it now with like out of shape.
Yeah. Okay. People. So I guess the blue haired people have really ruined everything for everybody.
They've ruined definitely like this kind of, counterculture, like edgy look.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't do, I would actually like to get a tattoo. I've been wanting one for a long time. Like since I was young, I wanted one. I was just like, I don't know what I want to commit to forever. But now I have things that I could commit to forever. And I wanted to have them, but now it's now a normie basic bitch thing to do.
Yeah.
It's
so weird. Somebody posted a couple of weeks ago an old photograph of Slater Kinney, the band that Carrie Brownstein's band. They were like they were a girl band in the 90s, kind of a riot girl era.
Okay.
Olympia, Washington, Pacific Northwest, kind of that
so
scene.
Many
You know who Carrie Brownstein is, right?
Nope.
She was, yeah, you do. She was the star of Portlandia. She's an actress.
Right.
And she has that kind of look,
sure.
right? Right.
Yeah.
So she's, yes.
Yeah.
And that, so the photograph of them is like these three girls, and they were just wearing sort of like, cardigan sweaters and skirts and clunky Italian loafers kind of thing, or Doc Martens with a skirt. And And all these guys were like, oh my God, that is such a hot look. That is you just don't see that anymore. And I'm like, everybody dressed like that then. But it wasn't, but it was cool. And it was sexy. Like, this is the thing. I just feel so sorry for everybody, because like, men were attracted to women that were not like this hyper feminine, hyper sexualized, cartoony woman face version of women. Like, they were just, there was something very, very hot about being understated and like a little tomboyish. And
I think it's just because of how rare it is. You know, it's just about like, most women were trying to be feminine at a certain time. I don't know if that's as common anymore. I think it is more weird to be like very feminine or going for like a feminine appearance.
But I mean, everybody on Instagram. But that's
that's a different. I think we're just like caught in certain kind of subcultures where something in some subcultures, this is the norm and everybody is conforming to it. I'm not in the subculture where my appearance is the norm.
No.
You know, well, like long hair, kind of feminine-ish dress, normal kind of.
Well, what subculture are you in? I thought you never went out. So what are we talking about?
But if I had friends, you know, if I had friends, they would be. Well, but because they're, you know, nerds, kind of not exactly normal in a lot of ways.
What are the women like? Are there even any women in this subculture, or
there are, but they're not necessarily the kind of women that wear makeup. Maybe less, maybe none. You know,
okay,
definitely not like people who are spending a lot of effort on their appearance.
And are they partnered? Are they?
Some of them are. Yeah, some of them are. And nerds have sex. They do.
I know they have too much.
They have too much sex. Yeah, they have a lot of sex actually. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just he's thinking about a very specific kind of woman when he makes broad claims like that. You know,
but I tweeted this photo of myself, and I mean,
and you got shit.
So I mean, several people were like, "Oh, that's a great picture," but
it's a great picture.
It was like, "Oh, it's fine, but not in my bed." No, thanks.
He doesn't mean that. They don't mean that. They never mean that. It's always BS. If a man goes out of his way to be like, "No, not for me," like that, you know, he's just making a political statement.
Yeah. But what do you, and we'll move off of this topic in a second, but I mean, what do you think of the original sentiment here, which is that women can really get sex at any time, no matter what, unless they are like really, really unattractive in some obviously
everybody's talking about something different. The original woman that inspired this whole, you know, quote tweet, you know, firestorm, she can get sex anytime she wants. I think that's not what she wants, though. She wants a partner.
She wants a relationship. Yeah,
she wants a relationship. Can she get a relationship? That's a different question. And I think maybe the answer to that might be not as easily. And I just think that men don't care about your job very much. It's not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing.
I think it can be a bad thing.
It can be a bad thing if it takes away too much time and energy away from like family. I think that's when men consider it a bad thing, and they won't penalize you for not having as prestigious of a job as them, for sure. So I think a lot of women are confused about this. You know, they're like, I'm I'm gorgeous and I'm, you know, working 12-hour days. And it's like, that's the problem. The problem is you're working 12-hour days. And that's not, I don't think that's a bizarre or misogynist or anything. I don't think that that's a problematic way to look at a relationship, because I thought about that myself in the sense that, you know, I run in circles where there are lots of young men around me who have, you know, who are like my age-ish or maybe a little older than me, who have a lot going for them. Like they're deeply, like extremely successful, have like a lot of companies, a lot of money, whatever. But I remember thinking, I don't know if that would make the best husband, because I want somebody who has like enough to support me, enough to support my family, like our family that we create together. But I don't want somebody who's married to his job and working all the time and sleeping in the office, because that's not going to be a good father. You know, like so.
I would take that person. I would be fine.
Oh, you would. You would. Oh yeah, because you're not. Well, you're just
sleeping
like
at the office.
I won't see you for a few days. That's great, and you'll sleep alone and won't have to tolerate anybody snoring. I think
that's right.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like even for me, even as a woman, there is a level at which success is you're spending too much time at your job. And I think it's perfectly normal and fine for a man to be more concerned about that than a woman would be, given how taxing motherhood is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But I know at some point I would like to talk about this idea that men assume that women like have it made because they can pretty much get sex at any time if they lower their standards enough. But the fact is that's not what they want. They want relationships. And so the femme cell is actually being denied relationship, not
a relationship
sex.
That's actually a match for her, like a relationship that's
maybe
adding to her life.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, you don't have to be a femme cell to have a hard time finding that, but
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So there, that's a literal difficulty with young women today, that they're not finding a man who is capable of providing what they can provide, you know, or what they feel that they're bringing to the
or anything. But I mean, you can be like, if you are not conventionally attractive, I mean, depending on your level of attractiveness, it's entirely possible that nobody will want to have a relationship with you. I mean, I have seen that. It does happen.
Just that you're just so unattractive that you're not appealing. Yeah,
I mean, maybe, you know, you could get drunk at a bar and go home with somebody, but to actually find somebody to want to be in a relationship with you, I think that a lot of people are denied that. And we forget to talk about that aspect.
I do think that, homely women have it harder than they had it before, partially because of porn. You know, like I think men get it out. Like,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, and I again, like if you were in a community where, and I see this actually around like certain, you know, I see this in like immigrant communities. I mean, you see like, you know, people, they know each other. They have barbecues every weekend. They have giant family networks. And it's like you grow up with somebody and you know somebody in real life. And even if they're not like the most conventionally attractive person, it's possible that you could get to know them over time and develop a relationship with them. If you saw that person on an app, you would immediately swipe left. And so the fact that we're not developing relationships in real life is a huge detriment to finding one.
Yeah, or we're just not in one place long enough to develop that kind of attraction that doesn't happen overnight, but takes some time to like bubble up, you know? And so many of my friends, like forget about relationships. Majority of my friendships, I feel like that I now think of as like, these are the friendships that are deeply treasure, you know, maybe I'm not friends with them still, but like mattered a lot to me at the time that it was an active friendship. They were usually people who I didn't immediately click with. You know, it was just like, oh, you're okay, you're fine. Or maybe I actively dislike them. You know, that happened a couple of times too. I have a couple of like, I immediately did not like that person. And then over time, you know, you're not so bad. You've grown on me. I like you a lot, you know? Yeah. And that's actually great. I think that's a great way to develop a kind of like lasting, deeper bond, because you immediately saw all that was horrible about them. It didn't surprise you later. You saw it first.
Are you having a strong reaction? That's
yeah. And then their, you know, positive attributes overpower that or whatever, you know, or you go comfortable with their negative attributes, whatever it is. I think that's a kind of, it's a healthier growth, but it's the kind of thing that certain, you know, social organizations allow to occur, you know, so the kind of school arrangement, which is interesting because in Pakistan, they have it like that. And in other countries also, like internationally, this is common in some countries, but not in others, where you will have like one, like your class, the 20 kids or whatever that you start with in kindergarten is the same group of people that you have in your classes in 12th grade.
Right.
You know, because there's not that many electives. You have the same group of kids over and over, but in that length of time, you actually develop extremely close, not just friendships, like they're family by the end of it. You know, they feel as if they're family. They know each other so well. They've been together for longer than, you know, 10 years or longer, in the, you know, the metric system or the K through 12 system. And they feel so close to each other. And they have these kinds of bonds that don't really break over time. You can pick up the phone and call these people like 20 years later. You haven't seen them and you can call them and it's like you just pick up. It's like, you know, touching base with a cousin that you haven't talked to in a long time. we don't have the kinds of institutions that promote that kind of relationship at all. We don't stick to work long enough. I mean, we're not even in the workspace, like we're not even in a physical location long enough to develop those kinds of friendships. We don't stay at any individual company long enough anyway. We don't stay in a city, in a neighborhood, like in a family, in a community. Like we're too mobile.
Not even, but wait, I mean, are we talking only about like elite upper middle class, professional managerial class people? Because obviously working class people stay in neighborhoods for long times, and
they do. But I think they also are the same kinds of threads are pulling away at their in their lives as well. And unlike us, they don't have things to replace them with as readily and easily. Like secularism is something that's happening everywhere. People are leaving church everywhere, even in working class communities.
Yeah,
I don't think that's hitting them in the same way. I think it might be more damaging to them than it is to us.
Yeah, you still see a lot of. I went to a Dodger game a few weeks ago, and there's a lot of people there with a lot of babies and a lot of family and a lot of cousins. And
that's really nice. Yeah, I think
big families. I mean, huge. Mostly Latinos, but like big families.
Latinos are big families. Like they have. They have huge families. They're happy with their.
Yep.
5 kids each.
And not everybody looked like a supermodel, but people seem to be in love and love each other and happy with each other and enjoying their lives. So,
Megan, you're coming out in favor of big families, big Latino families.
It's fine for them
in particular.
Sure, I don't care.
It's good for them. Okay,
anything to compensate for my failure to contribute anything to society. All right. Well, speaking of which. We're going to talk about the New York Times treatment of Ibram X. Kendi, nay Henry Rogers. That was his name assigned at birth, Henry Rogers. By the way. It's kind of surprising that the New York Times has done a massive story on the sort of fall of Ibram X. Kendi's institution, anti-racist institution at Boston University. What do we make of this? I mean, it's nothing that we didn't already know, but to kind of see it all compiled in 10,000 words or however many words this is.
Yeah.
It's noteworthy.
I mean, it's a lot of words, first of all. I don't think that they're necessarily saying anything we didn't know. I find the way that New York Times decides to, like, what it chooses to put a lot of money into, I find that very interesting. Like, what is a subject that it thinks is worth 10,000 words, or 2,000 words is pretty fascinating to me. But in this case, yeah, we talked about this before. My perspective hasn't changed. After reading this, if anything, I felt more sympathetic towards Kendi, towards his plight. And I do think he's trapped in something that is bigger than him, that he can't work his way out of easily. I feel bad to the extent that, not that I've been going around making fun of him or anything, but that's been it's a common thing to make fun of him because he is, he's a lightweight intellectually. He's not offering anything interesting. People have been making that clear and making their disdain for him intellectually for a long time. Glenn Lowry, John McWhorter, they talk about him every now and then and not in a super, kind way. And I get it, like I share their political opinions. So, I'm there with them, to the degree that they accurately, decry his ideas as being absurd and lacking any kind of logic to them. There, having said that, I think that this is just a case of somebody who wasn't very smart, shouldn't have been put on a pedestal like this. He would not have earned it if this was a meritocratic system. He was put up on this pedestal because it was the right time, and a lot of liberals wanted to feel as if they were championing the right kind of cause. And he has dreadlocks and he's, wears a suit nicely and he has kind of a kind face. And a spoken manner, which appeals to a lot of people. So he reads as intellectual. They never paid attention to his ideas. They never seemed, I don't think they cared about his ideas. I don't think they cared about the merit
that
of
was
any of it.
a side point. I mean, yeah. And I mean, how would you characterize his ideas? Like what, I'm having a hard time, like even, sort of summing them up. I mean, what is his main thesis? That it's not enough to not be racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. Is that pretty much
If something
all it
isn't
is?
anti-racist, yes. And it's a focus on outcomes. And it's something is or isn't anti-racist based on its outcomes, not on its intentionality or its process necessarily.
Right. I mean, you have to wonder, like, the fact that his ideas are so simple. I mean, that's part of the reason he was elevated.
You think?
Partly, because if you're complicated and you like, talking in abstractions that are sort of abstract for a reason, and you're bringing lots of different ideas and sort of challenging conventional norms and sort of acknowledging your own contradictions, that doesn't translate as well to popular success and franchise.
Yeah, it's the Robin DiAngelo thing. She has the same thing going on where she dumbs it down to the most, like, she reduces it to the simplest possible.
Yeah, I mean,
binary.
It is. Yeah. It's sort of civil rights. It's like the complete idiot's guide to the contemporary civil rights movement.
And it, turns it on its head too. That's the complete idiot's guide for sure. Like fully, not just in the way that they dumb it down,
but also, actually, but queered in a way, right? Yeah,
right. Yeah. And I so he was given so much money in one kind of fell swoop. I mean, he started the center, and I mean the piece goes into detail how it kind of came together. And there were large nonprofits that started indicating that they were going to be willing to donate big sums of money to something like this, and so he launched it.
Yeah, and in 2020, we should say. I mean,
in 2020,
so they named him a humanities professor. I mean, they put him in this thing, the Andrew W. Mellon Professor of Humanities. So, and that position had been held by Elie Wiesel before that.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh my God.
He's standing he's got some big shoes to fill. And then at that time, and the donations just came pouring in,
right? Because it's the 2020. It was during the protests, really, when he launched this initiative in the 2020 protests, and he raised an incredible sum of $55 million, which is, it boggles my mind. I don't even know what I would do with this kind of money, even if I had it, right? And I tweeted about this a little bit, and it was just shocking to me how many people responded. Like I said that it is almost the amount is giving this amount of money to somebody is almost ruining their prospects of success because it is so large, by virtue of the fact that it is too large to digest easily, especially if you're founding something brand new. There are new challenges that you have to face, and there are challenges that money necessarily doesn't necessarily make better. I would, if someone gave me $55 million, I would be nervous. I would think, wait a minute, what do you want me to do? I'm going to fail. I would hire definitely going to fail.
CFO. I would hire a bunch of people that.
But you wouldn't know the right.
No,
you wouldn't necessarily know the right people to hire.
No,
either, right? Like because
you'd have to go on Indeed and try to find.
Good luck. I know how hard it is to hire people. To hire. It is easy to hire people who sound like they know what they're talking about, but it's really experience with people that teaches you whether or not they are worthy or competent as leaders. That's the kind of experience I don't have. That's the kind of experience he does not have. He went from a writer of a bad book, a badly written, kind of dumb book, to professor, to director of a research, center. It is an incredible leap that you would not expect anyone to make, even if they were 3 times as intelligent, even if they were as intelligent as everyone is initially made him out to be. If he was a genius, without this kind of experience, without any kind of experience in management, in directing something, in directing research? You're just going to leap into this role and know exactly what to do? Of course you aren't. Of course you need to develop this. I mean, this is, it feels so profoundly racist to me.
Yeah, it is.
To say that a black man, by being, magically black, the magic of his melanin, like he now knows, management.
Yes.
He now knows how to bring projects to, a successful completion. He knows how to reach milestones at a good pace. He knows how to monitor the output of underlings and, measure progress, all of that. These are things you learn over years and years and years of managing smaller projects, and being watched over by some kind of supervisor or manager who is teaching you the ropes.
Yeah.
That's how everybody else learns it.
I mean, right. And it would be one thing, I guess, if they had just put him in the sort of figurehead position and say, okay, somebody else is going to run this, somebody who shares your values, but they are going to be in charge and you are going to be the forward facing.
Right. You're the president, they're the executive director.
Right.
There's somebody else who's moving.
And I don't know, maybe that was floated at one point. Maybe he didn't want that. Maybe nobody thought of it. I don't know. But no, it's just a terribly unfair position to put somebody in. And then you've got like Christopher Rufo and Tucker Carlson and all these people immediately seeing this and piling on him. And then that just creates a boogeyman that he can respond to. Like his whole thing is, Kendi's thing was always, we have to build this organization, so that it's as strong as the, white nationalist domestic terrorist front that we are fighting.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, guess what? Neither of these things really exist, in the dimensions that you seem to think they do.
I think he was set up to fail. I can feel, I mean, people got mad at me for this, actually, when I shared this on Twitter, because they're like, how could you say this? His ideas are so awful. Like, they have had so much measurable, yes, they have had a terrible impact on America. I can hold that separately from the fact that I don't know how much better he could have done given who he was. Our system failed him. We should be meritocratic. We should not have allowed somebody who was clearly incompetent to get to this point. I would not give a toddler a driver's license. I wouldn't do that. And if I did that, that would be my fault. Like if something horrible happened, toddler managed to kill himself or whatever, or kill the engine, that would be on me and not on the toddler. And I do think there is an extent to which the fault is at, it should be laid at the feet of whoever it was that allowed him to open the center at Boston University. So I would be looking at the university itself. I would be looking at who okayed this, which group of people allowed for this to happen. They are the people who lost $55 million.
Well,
but do you think that that's letting him off the hook? Like people were saying that one, it's you're letting him off the hook. You're treating him like he's not a child. He has agency. Yeah, he has agency. But we all know what competence means, right? Like we know that. Like it would be if someone gave me a job that I was deeply unqualified for, but they said, "Hey, Sarah, we're so excited. We are the selection committee, and we are here to select the best person for the role." In choosing me, they make me feel as if maybe I could do this, right? Because I have no reason to think that they actually aren't even judging for competence at all. They're not interested in that at all. That's not why they're picking me. I presume that they're choosing me, that they're doing something responsible here, or they're taking a chance.
Yeah, well, you buy your own press.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I should get into this, but it reminds me of the Roxane Gay phenomenon, right? I mean, she was somebody who was writing kind of, light culture pieces in the, around 2010, 11, 12, thereabouts. And, was tweeting a lot, and, she had a certain persona. She had she's a very charming public speaker, or actually she was at that time. But, she was a very large Black woman. She checked a lot of boxes. She had gone to Yale. She had, she was actually an elite, but she coded kind of the people in a certain way.
Yeah.
And also, a sort of social justice kind of valence to her. And I mean, she's just an absolute lightweight. I mean, she's never said anything original or surprising or
and she commands so much money.
I mean, and everyone just nods and goes along with it. And she's given a New York Times column and, endless book contracts. And now I think she's writing like she was writing in Hollywood. Like that's the latest thing. And there's nothing there.
No, nothing.
And I always characterize that as profoundly racist.
It is.
There are so many qualified Black women who could have been given a New York Times column and would have been 1,000 times more interesting than Roxane Gay, whether or not you agreed with their positions or not. But no, she was just the closest one. She was in everybody's sight line, so they just go, "Oh, okay, this person."
Well, it's not. If you are a minority and you downplay. Like you don't put the social justice thing front and center of your profile. You are at a disadvantage because you are competing against, the Roxane Gays of the world, the people who make it all about race and serve their function better, which is to absolve, white liberals of guilt. So it makes it impossible for a brown or Black person who just wants to compete on the same level as everyone else. They want to be competent. They want to do their jobs well. They want to do good research. They want to write good things, like have insightful ideas. I do think that if that person refuses to play by that game, they're at an extreme disadvantage. And in fact, at a disadvantage that is greater than would be in a purely meritocratic society in which their color.
Oh yeah, no, you'll be penalized. Yeah. I mean, I just did an interview with Andrew Boriga, who's this novelist. He wrote this novel, Victim. I mean, it's a satire, but it's about this very thing. It's about a guy who grew up, a Puerto Rican kid growing up in the Bronx and academically gifted, but also kind of a hustler. His father was a drug dealer, and and the kid ends up getting into like an elite college and on scholarship, and quickly figures out that if he leverages his trauma and presents a certain narrative of himself, every guidance counselor in the world will go out of their way to elevate him. The college professors, he gets a column in the school newspaper and then graduates and gets a column in like some woke all weekly newspaper, and it goes on and on and on. And the whole thing is like the narrator, in his head, he sees that this is all bullshit, but he's like, well, I guess this is the way to do it. I mean, there's a scene where he gets to this college and they do a privilege walk, and he's like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what's happening, and he actually he wins the privilege walk, and his immediate thing is like, yes, I won. This is great.
Yeah. Look, it's a human response, right? Like of course you want to, you're a social animal. You see that there are certain expectations of you, then you conform to them. You conform to them, and then you get rewarded for it, and then your little conditioning system says, yay, that was great. I love being rewarded for
things. I guess you would be foolish not to. I mean, that's the thing. You would. I mean, there are Eric Smith, for instance, who's been on my podcast a bunch of times. He's a Black academic who founded Free Black Thought, and he speaks up against these things, and he's the anti Ibram Kendi. And if he were making the right noises, he would be teaching at Yale.
Yep.
But he was he's been a professor at a small college in Pennsylvania that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And it's astonishing. I mean, he's a fascinating guy and a deep thinker and charming, and it's like, what? So
I've heard from so many Black, I mean, even outside of this like woke, anti-woke, kind of deeply culture war stuff, I've heard so many normie people being so frustrated by this situation, especially if they are in the kinds of causes, in the nonprofit world at all, where everybody is kind of like aware, it's in the water, it's in the air that you're supposed to treat brown people a certain way. I mean, they feel frustrated. They think that they cannot succeed on any other lane but this one. They're being forced into it. They have to compete in this lane because they're not going to be judged in any other merit, even if they try. And they're not going to get mentors. That's one thing that I've struggled with the whole, because people just want to say yes to me. And yes, that was great. What you said was great. And it was also brave, and it was true. And it was like, wow, powerful. That's what people want to say to me. They don't want to correct me, even if I'm wrong, but I want them to correct me. I need them to correct me in order for me to improve, and I remember at some point I quickly realized that this is just, if I want to get better at whatever it is that I'm going to do, I actually have to surround myself with more brown people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to get weirdly racially isolate
only
myself.
They will hold your
because because they will take me on.
But that's just because they're jealous and they're, it's a zero-sum game. So
I mean, to some degree, but also
they're competing with you,
right? But also, it has to be conservatives.
Yeah.
Conservatives who don't buy into this politics at all. They will tell me no. They will tell me this is bogus. I can count on one hand the amount of people who have said, bullshit to my face when I was wrong about something, and I only later realized, hey, I was wrong. They knew it. They didn't say it.
What were you ever wrong about?
I don't know. I mean, it's shocking that I was wrong about it. I have been. In fact, I have been wrong.
I would be very curious what those things are. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can
like idea stuff or small
idea stuff about how to run things, like as a manager, as an organizer, how to, some like technical kind of stuff that I was wrong about. Several things, actually. Maybe I should write it. Maybe this is like worth writing a piece about, like what I was wrong about that other people didn't call me out on when they could have. Well, I like that about you, Megan. You're not afraid to tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know. I mean, management stuff. I mean, it is. I have to say, like, I have been a creative my whole career, but now that I am trying to do more, I mean, I have this enterprise, and it's actually quite liberating to just be able to say, you know what, I have no idea. This is not my background. Like, I don't have any investment in myself as a manager. So if I fuck up, like I'm the first to point it out, and I ask for help constantly because I don't care if people see me as a bad business person, because I have no investment in myself as a business person.
Because you're starting from you're starting from the bottom. I mean, you're a new manager, even if you weren't,
but it's not going to like shake the foundation of my identity if somebody says you're a bad boss, because
it wouldn't have done that to me. I didn't want to be a boss. It was just that I had no way of getting better because people weren't willing to do the critique. People weren't. I feel like I didn't get mentorship. I had to work for it. I had to ask specifically, if you were me, what would you do? Like, what am I doing wrong? Tell me exactly, specifically, critique me, find something wrong, and then they might give criticism. But I had to really work for it in a way that I don't think I should have had to. I don't think that I do that with people that I mentor. I'm quick to say, hey, don't do that. That what you're doing, don't do that. Do this other thing. That's going to be easier, faster, better, whatever. Whatever. I mean, I could go on about this for a long time, but I do feel as if Kendi was put in a position where he couldn't have succeeded, even if he was much brighter than he is. On top of that is the fact that he is not very bright. It's not surprising to me that he becomes very suspicious, and the book or the piece goes through his inability to take criticism and his kind of hostility towards it at times. He seems quite he gets not conspiratorial necessarily, but he begins to see enemies everywhere. He begins to be very mistrustful of people and seeing political attacks, political motives behind every critique. And I understand where he's coming from that perspective too, because a lot of people really were attacking him. He did get a ton of negative press immediately after getting a ton of this positive press that he wasn't prepared for, because he never should have gotten that positive press in the first place.
And also if you have imposter syndrome, you're going to hear critiques everywhere. So he's got to know deep down he's in over his head.
Maybe he doesn't.
Maybe he doesn't.
I mean, maybe he really is so.
He doesn't seem to have
over
that
his
kind
head.
of personality, though. I mean, he's so, they talk about how he's so soft spoken that the reporter was worried that he was not even going to come up on her tape recorder. Like she wouldn't even be able to hear the interview. I don't know.
But the problem is that he is trapped in this kind of worldview where his own failure and like if everything that we're saying is true, if it is the case that he has been raised, put on a pedestal, that he doesn't deserve where he stands, that he might not be extremely intelligent, and is making it anyway. I mean, that is a repudiation of what he believes in, what he believes to be true.
Yeah.
And his brain is kind of binary. I mean, in the piece talks about this, about when he was, he documents this. They say Kendi writes about this and stands from the beginning. And I'm quoting here: the racist ideas that poisoned his own mind and sense of self-worth. His aim at every turn is to blame the policies that create unequal conditions, not the people enduring them. Now, okay, because when he was himself a young man, he, in his own mind, thinks that he absorbed what was a racist view of Black people, that Black people just weren't trying hard enough, that Black people's homes were broken, social situations were such that it was leading to problems. He would have been
Thomas Sowell.
Yeah. Yeah, if not for, but he couldn't,
held on to that,
right? And he was made. I think he was incapacitated by that, right? Like he looked at that and he saw the failure of people who shared his own skin color, and the fingers pointed back at him, and he couldn't help but internalize it and feel a kind of a misery because of it, and a kind of sense of hopelessness. Like, what is the point if I'm doomed because of my skin color? And this was this new way of looking at the world is, no, actually, the whole system has brought me down and brought my people down. This is an empowering thing for somebody like him, and it allows him to have a different perception of himself, which is, quote unquote, healthier than the perception he had before.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that he went to Florida A&M University, which is a very large, historically Black college. I'm reminded of reading Ta-Nehisi Coates, who is, sort of much smarter version of the same thing in certain ways. Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about going to Howard University and how that just totally changed his life. He calls it Mecca, in Between the World and Me. It's funny. We seem to have stopped talking about Ta-Nehisi Coates. That was
what happened to him?
I don't know.
I bet something happened.
I mean, he's a lovely writer. I mean, I cannot put them. They are, Ta-Nehisi Coates and Ibram Kendi are in the same category in certain ways, but not at all. I mean,
they're in the same
Kendi
genre, but they're not in the same league.
No, no.
Ta-Nehisi Coates actually was very talented. I remember reading his piece on Obama and thinking, this is an incredible piece of writing.
It was white people who elevated him and fetishized him, and that it was a racist phenomenon, the elevation of him.
That elevation was not to the degree, it was not as absurd as this elevation.
No, this is a joke. This is right. So this is like, the 2.0 version of the Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Right. We've just decided to take, what was like a 2x. Now it's 2 squared.
Yes. Let's see how far we can take this. Exactly. Let's see how far we can push them. I mean, somebody like Nicole Hannah-Jones too, you wonder. By the way, all these people have won MacArthur Genius Awards, so that will go to your head. But I mean, Nicole Hannah-Jones, it's like, she was a decent reporter. She did a lot of good stuff around education reporting. The 1619 Project was, that was interesting as a project, and it raised some points worth thinking about, and she had some valuable things to say, but then it just got completely framed as some kind of new gospel truth that had been discovered and that was being,
it's a disservice
presented from on high.
It's a disservice for her.
but it's because the New York Times wasn't able to just say, "Hey, this is a set of ideas. Let's look at them a certain way." It had to be,
and
turned
so much money on it,
an entire pedagogy, an entire
sending it to schools.
Yeah, it literally
they
was
spent money on
turned into the water. I mean, it was the water that we have been drinking.
Yeah,
and you have to, and then, I mean, Nicole Hannah-Jones, the way she comports herself on Twitter is just, I mean, it is
She's
juvenile.
like a child.
I mean, it is, and like you gotta wonder, what are they thinking? Like, does she thinks that she's such a badass that she can get away with this and that it's kind of cute, or it's
she has to
edgy?
Think that. She has to think that. Because what is her other option? The other option is what we're saying, and that is more devastating to her ego. That it has to be. It will be, if I was trapped in between those two, I know that it would just cripple me to think, and it would be humiliating to think that I had been used by this very same people, like this complex that I keep decrying.
Yes.
You know? This thing that I keep saying that Black people are getting tokenized, they're getting used, they're getting blah, blah, blah. And that actually happens to me. And I am, in fact, the emblem of that happening. Yeah. It would destroy me. You know, it would destroy me psychologically. Yeah, no. And I think I'm stronger than her.
Humiliating.
But it is humiliating to think about. And I think that's partially why, even in this piece with Kendi, there's the sense that the writer is treating him with kid gloves very much, you know, this is a sympathetic piece. It has a little bit, you know, some bits of criticism here and there, but not quite. And it's very gentle in the way that it treats him. And I get the feeling that even here, the writer doesn't want to, she wants to coddle him. No, she wants to be gentle. She kind of sees what's happened and doesn't want to say it because it would be so mean and cruel to say it to his face that this is what has happened to you and this is what you are.
No, I'm sure she had to fight, you know, past a number of editorial layers to even get the piece to this point. Yeah. It's in the magazine, we should say. The New York Times Magazine is notably woke.
So you wrote many, many pieces on people. How did you balance this, like this desire not to hurt the person that gave you this look into their lives, you know, this opened their world to you, and now you kind of
I never profiled this kind of person, but I mean, the thing is that you cannot, even a puff celebrity piece, which I did a lot of, because it paid so well, you have to, you know, go through some kind of motions of like criticizing them or interviewing people who might have some critiques of them. Otherwise, it's just a blatant blowjob of a piece. You don't want that. But I don't know. It's just the thing is, if you're going to profile somebody, it's disrespectful to not look at the whole person. I mean, why would you just? Otherwise, you're like
right. But at the same time, would you something like this whole elephant in the room, like? You can't really touch. You can't ever just say that.
No, I would have written the piece differently. But I mean, it wouldn't have been in the New York Times. They wouldn't have published it. I mean, I would have said like, let's look at this whole thing. Like, let's pull the camera way, way, way back. I mean, how did this person? And I would be very curious. Like, you know, because we hear about, does he have a gratitude journal or something? I mean, he's kind of a basic bitch.
I mean, it was sweet though, but I totally understand why this writer was kind of charmed by him, because it was she called it a corniness, you know.
Yes,
I thought that was a good way of describing it. And it's interesting that like this kind of unironic corniness really is endearing. I know people who have journals like this actually, and it is sweet. It is like there's something cute about it. She says, I'm quoting her now, there is a corniness to Kendi that it's endearing. Like his use of the gratitude notebook, a thick pastel colored pad with a gold spiral binding, or the fact that his phone email signature is sent from Typoville, aka my iPhone.
That's cute. That's fine. I've seen worse for the iPhone signatures.
Yeah, I mean it's there's a sincerity to Kendi that I think is partially why I feel this sense of like, oh, like poor him, versus just anger at a grifter. Because it feels as if he believes everything that he says, or he feels that he must believe it, you know. But I don't agree. I don't feel like that's the case with all of them. I wouldn't necessarily say Nicole Hannah Jones is trapped in the way he is trapped, because I think she could do better. You know, she knows better too. You know, I don't feel this. And there's a bullying aspect to the way that.
Yeah, the bullying. I mean, that was the Roxane Gay thing too. Incredible bullying.
She's
behavior.
aggressive. She's aggressive.
Yeah.
Hannah Jones is aggressive. Roxane Gay is aggressive. And there's something about their willingness to utilize this weapon that has been given to them in this incredibly destructive way to individuals, to people who cross them, that Ibram Kendi doesn't give me that vibe.
No.
Although that might be the case, though. It might be the case.
He might do it in different, quieter ways within his organization, but he's not on Twitter abusing people.
Right. And that might be why I have this like sense of sympathy towards him. But this piece points out to the fact that he wasn't a great manager. He was suspicious of people who criticized his approach to various programs, and that there were many people who were otherwise fans of his who had signed up to work at his center who were very frustrated with how he's approaching things, and that was part of the downfall. The downfall was he decided to shift the center to focus on to have a completely different way of approaching research and a completely different life cycle. I think they were just doing fellowships now. It used to be that they had in-house like research, but now they're doing fellowships that last a certain amount of time. And this shakeup, I think, put some people in the position where now they felt able to criticize him openly and publicly, and that's partially why it went downhill the way that it did. But I'm speculating at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well. I don't think we have anything more on that. For something completely different, we're going to talk about a piece about boyfriends taking Instagram photos of their girlfriends.
Yeah, maybe. We can talk about that. That was a good one. There are a couple ones that were good. We can talk about that.
We're going to move on to much shallower topics now, people. So if you've been waiting for this moment.
Just because a topic is shallow doesn't mean our treatment of it.
Never. No. It runs in inverse proportion. We're going to get really deep here.
The more serious a topic,
that we can't
our
handle.
Treatment.
We don't have the chops.
The more insignificant, totally like useless to your real life a topic is, the more seriously we take it. Having said that, there was a piece. An interesting piece on Jonathan Haidt's Substack, I guess.
Yes,
that's what it
After
is.
Babel, using moral psychology to
explain Babel.
Why so much is going wrong. Sarah! Jeez. Just because you're a babe, everything is not Babel. Babel.
Okay, Babel.
Freya India, who's a very interesting writer.
A young woman.
She's British.
Young woman herself. Freya India. Is that can't be her real name, can it?
Maybe.
She writes a Substack herself called Girls. Girlhood in the Modern World. It's kind of odd, I think, to call herself a girl, though. She's definitely a woman, right? I mean, she's like 22.
Oh, she's reclaiming the girl label, like Lena Dunham. Like girls. Who I did profile in the New York Times Magazine, by the way. Okay, so your boyfriend isn't your cameraman. Is the name of this piece. And I mean, I haven't noticed this because I never go anywhere. But apparently if you go to scenic places, this is something you'll see all the time, which is young women posing for the gram and making their male partners
for the gram.
Take a bunch of pictures for them.
Say it, Megan?
That's how the old kids say it. For the Instagram? Yeah. For the gram. That's what I've heard. Or TikTok videos, etc. So, is this just another example of the longhouse, the feminized culture overtaking everything, and these men are effectively slaves to their girlfriend's narcissism?
Not quite, I think. Not maybe it's not the perfect. I think it's something different. I don't know if it is definitely something that has overtaken women, but it is a broader cultural thing. It's not as if something more feminine is overtaking Instagram, which is a normally very male presence or anything. Like it is that women are becoming more narcissistic, as are men. We're all becoming more narcissistic. We're all becoming performers. and expecting other people to pay attention and treating the real world as just props for a nice picture or a video. And that is the real, that is the meat of our social lives, which is pretty horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so we should say this is something that journalists are taking on. So she cites a number of examples. So we have articles called, for instance, the Instagram husband revolution. Men's magazines provide tips on how to take a photo of your girlfriend. Thanks, men's magazines. Don't take just one. Stop doing exasperated sighs, gentlemen. Girls are told, don't date boys who won't take pictures for your Instagram. And they are taught how to train an Instagram boyfriend. He is the key to documenting your life, growing your brand, as well as how to thank them properly. Thank you for going on adventures with me to find the perfect spot to take a photo. There are Facebook and Instagram pages called Boyfriends of Instagram, and TikToks about boyfriends never getting it right. Yes, so boyfriends and husbands are complaining about this. Some say taking pictures of their girlfriends feels like a full-time job. Others explain how entire trips were ruined by it. Yeah, that no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of ways to ruin your vacation.
Wait, we have to stop and read some of this. The piece you just mentioned of some saying the pictures of their girlfriend feels like a full-time job. That's a Reddit post, and I just want to read from it a little bit. This is from 6 years ago, so
wow.
So this problem has been going on for some time. And this is a 29-year-old man who is having difficulty playing boyfriend of Instagram for my girlfriend. They've been together for 15 months. He says her father did a fantastic job of recording / photographing her life ever since she was born. There are multiple bookcases of photo albums that her parents placed, maybe too fantastic. Her need for me to catalog her life is slowly draining my soul. And he will say that, when I have to take over 400 photos, yes, you read that number, right, on our date to the sand dunes, or over 100 photos of our fine dining experience last night with another couple, is it really so hard to believe that I would get tired, start not to enjoy the experience, eventually become visibly upset. So he talks about, like he's trying to improve his attitude, not fake his smile only with teeth, don't become solemn and sulk. He said, but when I have to joy Salvation Mountain through the lens of her GoPro as I follow her around filming and photographing, or when I have to stop every minute during a hike to photograph her, it becomes difficult. Okay, so here's what he says. To help cope, I've thought about taking caffeine, Adderall, weed, MDMA, or just running into oncoming traffic. Anyone else have healthy alternatives?
That's funny. I guess it's a good point that they have been documented since birth. I mean, these are kids who grew up with their parents Instagramming them all day, or social media.
But they just think that it seems like they just think that the experience is not the experience.
Right.
The experience is just a way of getting to the picture, which is the product. And then you put it on Instagram and then you get likes, and that's the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sick.
It's really sad.
It's sick. When I used to travel, which was a long time ago, don't travel anymore. I started traveling just for fun, and then I started traveling a lot for work, which was horrible. And now I don't travel anymore or go anywhere. But when I was first going around, there weren't that many Instagram kind of people posing everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I noticed over the course of years that increased until, the last time I went to Italy, it was my last kind of touristy vacation. I went to a bunch of different places, the kinds of places that are corny, kitschy, Instagram place. Venice is just one big Instagram zone, hotbed for that kind of thing. I didn't like it for that reason. But I remember there would be these women who would come out dressed totally impractically. They're not fitting into the surroundings at all. They have these shoes that are impossible to work with, but they're clearly they're out for a photo shoot, and they have these they bring materials with them. So many materials. When you see the pictures, the Instagram picture, you don't realize how much equipment is going
on the lights and
yeah,
things.
yeah. Or reflectors, and they'll have some guys holding a reflector and other guys doing whatever, providing shade and somebody else is taking the picture. Sometimes they have a fake camera, like they're holding up a camera.
Oh, like, so it looks like they're doing a selfie. Oh my God.
It was insane. And the weird thing was that other people are watching this person, like taking the picture. So they would like there would be like a throng of people like surrounding, the woman. Everybody is just like, what is happening? Mostly they're laughing, which is great. I think that's the appropriate response. But also just like the spectacle of it. And I saw it everywhere. Like every city. Sometimes it's like random little beach towns in California. I'm just walking around and there's a woman with her Instagram boyfriend and she's posing, and she's like, give me like this, and she's like moving to different places. And it's just I don't understand it.
Why is it always women?
Yeah. I don't know.
Is it?
I mean, it is. Have you ever seen an Instagram man? I haven't. I've never seen it. Maybe
like gay men. I don't know. Maybe. What do you think about that?
Gay male.
This is the problem with this. See, this is I know. So this is the problem with this actually, because all these things like, women drive cancel culture, all these kind of generalizations that we love to make. I think it's by and large true, but there are certain men who do it. They're just like,
they're gay.
A certain kind of man.
Okay.
Yeah. And the problem is that throws a wrench in the whole theory, because you can't really say,
it doesn't, because we're trying to attract the same organism, and so you can say this is a toxic manifestation of that drive.
But like, it's so ironic because that really attracts men doing this, attracts men.
I think that it has the cart and the horse have just departed. Yeah. Like they've left each other. And I think that is kind of what's happening here. But the initial impulse to preen and to display yourself and, as an object of consumption, I think that is very, maybe feminine is not the word. Maybe the word is like the kind of person who wants to attract men, whether that be a man or a woman. Right, like that's how you do it.
It is. It's a hyper feminine thing to do. It's kind of like, it's not analogous, but like, I don't know, when you were in high school, did you have like lockers with like mirrors? Like, did you have the thing where like there was a mirror in your locker? Like, so you would like fix your makeup in the mirror
I
of
did
your
it.
locker. I didn't either, because it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
But
I forgot my locker combination several times. I would just carry things around in my backpack to work. Yeah.
Okay. Do you do this? So when you use like a public restroom, do you like put makeup on in the mirror, like standing there with those other women? I find that so awkward.
It is awkward, but I hate sometimes it's a bonding experience. If you're really drunk, it can be great.
Oh, but I just feel like so
like you're reduced to, I feel like an animal in that instinct.
I feel like everybody's judging everybody. It's like, I'm going to be standing here looking at myself, standing next to this other woman looking at herself. And like, how is she putting on her makeup and how does she know how to do it? And like, how does it, I hate
These are not my problems. These are your problems. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just existing, not unconsciously, basically. I think that's the word. Not just not self-conscious, but
I think I'm just always, I never was good with makeup. I always had short hair and I didn't wear a lot of makeup. And so in a situation like that, I was at a loss.
You need to figure out this YouTube thing. Like there are a bunch of like gurus and they are 15 years old and they do amazing makeup.
Okay. I don't
like it's incredible. It's incredible. They know everything. They'll be 15 and they'll be teaching you. Not that I don't know really. I just slather it on. But I feel like the bathrooms, like that specific ritual is actually great. It makes me feel more connected to my fellow women. And the time that I'm doing it mostly, like, I feel like people are like, it's usually when I'm like at a party, like at something at night, fixing up your makeup. So you already
know them
at a date.
It's, yeah.
Sometimes you don't know them and you become friends. You haven't had like a fun, like new drunk friendship with some nice woman you met at a bathroom?
No, I've never had that. No, and the other thing is that the sink is always wet. So where are you supposed to put your purse? It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah, it's a
what? Seriously, what are you supposed to do?
In your bra, like you sort of like stick your
what
you stick what you need in your bra, and then you like whip it out.
What?
Like as if it's an apron, right? Like it could be have an apron with
and
pockets.
You've had that in your wait.
You don't carry it around. You have your purse. You take what you need, and then you like put it. Like it depends on what you're wearing.
It
depends on what you need. But you can make it work.
I
You can
can't
make
do
it
that.
work. Yes, you can.
No.
Yes, you can. And it can be a great bonding experience. I've actually made friends this way, like, or kind of friend-ish, like people you'd run into at like a specific bar.
I don't think I've ever made a friend.
Really?
In a
But
public
you can like
restroom.
ask like for, can I buy this? I mean, yeah, girl, of course. You look beautiful.
No,
I don't
participate in that.
Why not? It's
I don't know.
great.
I honestly, like, that is like a girly thing that I just never could figure out.
The bathroom at like a nightclub or like a bar late at night, that's like the time in which women are the best they could ever be to other women. Like, they're so kind and affirming, and there's no men around, so you're not performing for anyone. You're not performing.
Autogynephiles want to get in there.
Maybe that's a part of it, but I do think that there's something to be said about how nice women are to other women in bathrooms.
Really?
You don't feel like that's the case?
No, I feel like they could easily just be like, you're going to like they're going to just like let you walk out with your skirt and your underwear. No,
I've only ever experienced like really nice behavior from other women in bathrooms. And I think of it as a very positive place. I think there was a study out. I'm going to have to look it up, and we can like edit this if it's like totally.
No, I think this is great.
There was a study about how like, women get relaxed when they go into women's restrooms, but men get more tense, like stressed out.
Well, yeah,
when
because
they get in a men's restroom.
They have to. I mean,
they're like, oh, I'm gonna make myself vulnerable in front of other men.
Yeah,
it's terrifying experience. Yeah. Have you? How do you feel about mixed sex restrooms? Like, have you ever experienced them, or even powder rooms?
Oh, I wouldn't like that. I mean,
have you ever experienced?
Well, when I was in college, we had co-ed bathrooms in the dorms.
Oh, did you use that?
Yeah, no, but you had to. But yeah, I mean, there were stalls. I mean, you didn't obviously like there were stalls for the toilets and there were stalls for the showers. And you would like the way the showers were designed. You would like step in the first area and then close the door and then go into the shower.
That's horrible.
But no, you would definitely be like, looking in the mirror next to a guy. But you know what?
I don't like that.
We didn't put on makeup. Honestly, like we did not. Wearing makeup and doing that and when I was in college was such a no-no. You would have been embarrassed, that you would have been ashamed.
Even if you're going out? You're going out and you put on some eyeliner because you're going out?
I don't think you would. I don't know.
I didn't put on makeup either in college, like on a day-to-day basis. But I did like when I was going out.
Maybe, but I cannot. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think you would have done it. I don't know. We were very like the whole tyranny was that you had to look super hot without doing anything to yourself. I mean, this is the thing. Like,
that's terrible.
No, I know. I mean, this.
Well, then I can't be hot.
I still have that. Well, I mean, it's like I would rather. I
would rather not be hot.
I never learned how to put on makeup. No, I would rather get a peel, get like a face treatment than have to like deal with makeup. No, that you were really. It was embarrassing. I mean, men were not attracted to like those hyper feminine girly girls. That was a huge, it was just a huge strike against you.
I think that's
well,
you went to a women's college, no, liberal arts.
There were men there. There were men there. It was, there were, right.
But women's college,
but the women were beautiful, but these were the hottest women. I mean, Vassar, hot women, beautiful, but in like an anorexic ballerina, severe art history major kind of way, not in a long hair with extensions kind of way. But
those are not low maintenance girls, though. That's the thing. Like,
you didn't let it show. Is my point.
Right? Mm-hmm.
You never would have sat there and like flounced your hair in the mirror or something.
I can't do that in front of men. A couple of times I have been in a situation where the powder room kind of area had men in it, and it was miserable. I just couldn't. I was so uncomfortable. And feeling like they're looking at me, and one time there was a bathroom where it was so effed up. I'm so mad about it still. I know exactly where it is too. This restaurant in DC where they decided it was a brilliant idea if you had like the male restroom and the female restroom like separate. So you have separate entrances, but you go in and when you look at the mirrors, like where the mirrors are, there are no mirrors. There's just the other side. Yeah. So I remember just like looking up and being like, where's my reflection? What's going on? And then a man exits from like the stall, which I thought was a reflection.
Right. Wow.
I thought it was a reflection, but it was a man.
Right. And you saw yourself as a man. And did you decide, oh, maybe I'll transition. This is pretty good.
Well, it was a friend of mine. And so he comes out and he sort of like smirks and he's embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. And I'm just like, this is so awful. Like I'm expecting a mirror and there's never enough of those as it is, in the women's restroom. And now you're going to take them all away and give me men who are looking over at me. And I tried to there was a tiny mirror. So I tried to adjust my makeup. My friend's like, you look great. You look awesome. You don't need to worry about it. I'm like, shut up. I don't want any comments from you. This is a thing I need to do and I need to do it without your input, but I don't know why you would do that. And I complained. I went out to the waitress and I was like, the bathrooms. And she was like, yeah, women don't like it.
No. I know people are trying to, somebody's going to win a MacArthur Genius grant for designing that bathroom. Just you wait. All right. Well, have we covered everything for the moment?
Have we? I mean, I think we just sort of launched off. We didn't really cover that article at all.
Oh, right.
We should.
Well, I don't know. I think we did.
We did.
What more is there to say?
I'm trying to look at the piece. The piece was really good. And her Substack is very good too. Mm-hmm. Very interesting to get into this look into girlhood. Although I never did this, and I don't take a lot of pictures now. So there's 5 pictures of me in the past 5 years. I don't take any pictures, and I don't make my husband take pictures of me. It's bizarre, I think, when people do this, because don't you want to capture the moment? Don't you want to capture the thing that you're looking at and not yourself?
Yeah. I mean,
in it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think okay.
No, I think this is a good piece. I like this writer. I mean, would you, she links to an article. Would you break up if your partner won't post you on Instagram? I mean, that's the other thing too, is your relationship is serious when your partner is mentioning you in his socials.
I hated it so much. I hated posting on socials so much. I remember I did not want to I only had a Facebook in college because that's how people invited you to parties. That's how you knew that a party was happening, because they would have a Facebook event and then you would, get an invite or whatever. And I don't even know what you do anymore to it, but join that event. That's why I had a Facebook, for no other reason. And it was so my boyfriend of 2-3 years in college, we had such little social interaction that one time his account got hacked by a scammer who was trying to scam his friends and colleagues and say oh, I lost, hey, we haven't seen each other in a while, but I lost blah blah blah, and can you do this, and can you wire me some money or something like that.
Oh my god.
And the scammer used me. The scammer was hey, it's been a while, how you been? And it was such a weird it was as if he's talking to somebody who's a distant friend, but in fact he was my boyfriend for a long time. We just don't ever talk on socials because I didn't like that, and we didn't do that. Yeah, and I was okay, and I called him up and I was something's up.
Oh my god, I never look at Facebook. Every time I venture on there, it's horrifying.
Well, everyone's mom is on Facebook now.
Everyone's mom is virtue signaling, with their last gasps. And it makes me so mad.
We need a mom-free social networks. I guess that's not Instagram anymore either. It's not Snapchat. My mom is all up on those. TikTok, I guess. She's still confused by that.
I don't look at TikTok. My eyes will burn out.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anything else?
No, I think we got it.
Okay.
We got it. Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody rate and review the show.
Please, please, please. On Apple Podcasts, or do whatever you need to do on YouTube. I don't know what you do on YouTube. Like it, subscribe, do
it, and please leave an intelligent comment.
Please leave it. Yeah.
Are there
on
any
YouTube?
complaints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always complaints. There's a lot of complaints about my hair, but you know what? I'm not gonna. I did look at how good I've been today, but that's because my arm really hurts.
Well, why do you think your arm hurts? You have you're gonna get carpal tunnel from twirling your hair.
It's actually punishment from a deity who's also upset at what I'm doing here. Okay. Well.
All right, everyone. Thanks. See you next time. You have reached the end of the episode, which probably means you like our content. Why don't you join our Substack right now? You can become a paying subscriber at a specialplace.substack.com. You can join our listener community, leave comments, interact with everybody. We'll see you in there. It is totally worth it. So please join us, a specialplace.substack.com. And thanks for listening.